and your dignity, and refuse to surrender to their terror and despair, then you know something of the courage that is Palestine.
As a creature living in the thrashing endgame of civilization, I am intimately acquainted with the landscape of loss, and have grown accustomed to carrying a daily weight of despair. I walk clear cuts that wrap around mountains and drop into valleys, and climb ridges that fragment watershed after watershed. I have sat silent near empty streams that 2 generations ago lashed into whiteness like uncountable salmon coming home to spawn and die. A few years ago, I began to feel pretty apocalyptic, but I hesitated to use that word, in part because of those cartoons I've seen of crazy penitents carrying the end of near signs, and in part because of the power of the word itself. Apocalypse. I didn't want to use it lightly. And then a friend and fellow activist said, what's it going to take to finally use that word? Will it take the death of runs of salmon so large that people are afraid to put their boats in water because they capsize? So large that horses were afraid of water. So large that you would hear them long before you would see them. Or maybe it'll take the death of flocks of passenger pigeons, so large they darkened the sky for days at a time. So large they were as loud as thunder, moving 60 miles an hour. Maybe it'll take the death of flocks of Eskimo crows just as large. Maybe it'll take the turning the sea off San Diego into a dead zone. Maybe it'll take putting docks in every mother's breast milk. Maybe it'll take 90% of the large fish in the oceans being gone.
When I stop laughing like this, I'll cry and cry and cry.
Do you think that it will undergo a voluntary transformation then to, say, in a sustainable way of living? I mean, a lot of people at least seems to have some kind of agenda to make it more sustainable.
Well, there are people that would like to be comforted with what I think is the illusion that certain partial steps will be okay or will be sufficient, but it's a much more thoroughgoing thing that's going to have to happen to change it. The whole question of a voluntary change, I mean, that depends on what you think is efficacious. What would be effective? And that's a whole question in itself. The question that Derek Jensen brings up from time to time, or regularly, I would say, is that he just ridicules the idea that there'll be a voluntary shift away from it. But I'm very much more hopeful, frankly. I think that when we see what's going on, that it's not, to me, so unlikely that people will say, well, this is causing such negative results in every single sphere. Why wouldn't people think about doing something different? I mean, to me, it's more irrational to think that people are not going to be able to confront this and draw the obvious conclusions than it is to say, oh no, nobody will ever veer from the suicidal course of civilization and technology. I mean, who knows? It's impossible to say, of course, but I feel that there are grounds for not just thinking that there would never be any shift in people's consciousness.
We rose up to seize the state, but found that the state did not exist, that in reality we faced a system stretching far beyond our borders. But we were born in the struggle, and we have defeated other empires before this one. We did not overthrow apartheid through elections or decisive military engagement. We defeated apartheid, and we will stop this war by making it unworkable on the ground through thousands of collective acts of rebellion and disobedience.
The state itself causes and profits from the various injustices we struggle against, how is it logical to believe the system